first story on crypto is, I think, about Coinbase, right? And we got Coinbase that they basically had it. They've had it with the U.S. and they're deciding that they're going to go outside the U.S. So Coinbase stepping out of the U.S. with an international exchange. They've been asking forever for clarity from the SEC. They're not getting it. And then they just launched the lawsuit and saying, if you guys don't want to tell us and we're still operating here, you can't legislate us if we don't know the rules of engagement. So they're litigating them. So now Coinbase is saying at the same time, let's look at expanding outside of the U.S. So Patrick, what's your take on Coinbase's strategy here?
So they received a Wells notice. Nothing came of that. After they received a Wells notice, they went back and said to the SEC that they were going to sue them now. And then they decided they're leaving the country. So that's exactly what my response is to anyone who says, what happens when governments want to regulate crypto, when they want to tax crypto? They'll leave. They'll go to a favorable advantage and find a location that is an economic free trade zone, like the country of Georgia or Singapore, places that allow you better advantages and less regulations.
Ben, I'm going to throw this to you next. So I know you're definitely a Bitcoin guy. Do you see the fact that Bitcoin is governless and borderless? Is that two of the main things that's its selling points, and that's why people are heading that direction?
Definitely. I mean, there's definitely a bifurcation of people that trust the system and people who don't. And anyone who jumps off the trust the system bandwagon, they go to a place where there's no trust, and Bitcoin's kind of the catch-all in that. There's definitely a lot of getting caught up in scams and shitcoins along the way. But if you're the education about money just goes towards Bitcoin if you want to find the best money there. So yeah. I'm not surprised to see Coinbase and all these other countries leaving. I mean, it is just ridiculous to see Gary Gensler talk about all this stuff and be pretty much like in his words, very clear that everything other than Bitcoin is a security, but not actually do anything about it. I mean, it's just like, oh, cool. So it's another thing that government's not good at. We can just talk about it and not actually do anything.
Gary Gensler. Dylan, do you believe anything Gary's saying? Is he mostly FUD because he's contradicting Gary Gensler from 5 years ago?
I don't know. I think we just hear sound bites. I think there's a lot more complexity to this. I mean, when I hear that Coinbase, back to that they are leaving, I mean, any company that I think has built its platform on promoting a lot of these different cryptos, a lot of different altcoins, they basically carved out a niche to try and get away with counterfeiting money, extracting that value at scale from the market. And you see, like, if you pay attention to this space and you pay attention to projects and, projects with big names attached to it, how many of those projects do we have collapse over the recent crypto market collapse that were backed by reputable people and venture funds and like the smartest people around, that just turned out to be complete and utter scams. And then we see like the rise of these meme coins, and there's no like, there's no regulations, there's nothing around those. Because that's an environment that's working, because that's what it's saying is, and what I see in my perspective is that you're seeing the main money that people have been using or thinking as money, like the US dollar, is failing. And something that Patrick talks about, and he talked about the crypto commandments, is that the dollar is garbage. And when that starts failing, people start trying to take on a bunch more risk and basically throw a dart at the wall and put their money in anything that they think could help them escape the system. The problem is that doesn't necessarily help them escape when all the things they're putting their money in are unsustainable things, right? It's just quickening that pace or making things worse along the road. So when I hear about Coinbase moving out, I understand, because there's a lot of countries that are, that have been hurt by the fiat system. But unless they're like building on a platform that has potential for more stability than the US dollar, or then something like Bitcoin, it's doomed to failure. And in the short term, they'll harvest a lot of gains and money because it's there. But the long term, there'll be people wrecked all over the place. So that's what I see. Yeah,
there's the nascent part of crypto being most projects being less than 5 years old, or Bitcoin being 13, well, the granddaddy of them all. But it's still a very, very young project in space. So it's wild, wild west for the most part of the economy. So as such, things will get exploited. Money will flow around. But as far as money flow, we've seen those people that are big into Bitcoin have dipped their toe in even harder this time. So now in the last 18 days, or as of a couple of days ago, so the last 3 weeks, we'll call it, $1.8 billion. We've got that right. Nearly $2 billion worth of crypto, Bitcoin, has been acquired. So the whales are stocking up on Bitcoin. Patrick, I'm sure you know some of these guys as being an ex-miner. What you're taking all the big boys adding to their stockpile of Bitcoin right now?
I don't know any of these guys at all. I have no knowledge of any of them or any of you guys at all.